Today I play 100 days of my Minecraft Forever world. So join me as we play from start to where we're at now, and I hope you enjoy. Today I loaded up Minecraft and decided it was gonna be the day I started my very own Forever world. I put the difficulty on hard mode and I put in my very own random seed, as you can see. And then world creation began, and just like that, here we are, well, forever. As I looked at the beautiful world around me, unsure where to begin, I had to fully take it in that this would be my forever world, and I couldn't help but be excited. So of course, as any other world, I start by chopping down my first tree to begin my resource journey. I decided since our goal on this world is forever, I wanted to take everything as slow as possible. So instead of just jumping into stone tools or iron tools, I just want to start with the basics and keep my wood tools until I have the resources needed to fully upgrade. I feel as though doing this will help me pace myself not to get burnt out and to be able to enjoy every part of the beginnings and early game of Minecraft. This really is probably one of the best sandbox games we have to date. You have endless abilities and opportunities with this game, and so I really want to be able to cherish and enjoy every moment. I've been seeing videos all over my For You page and TikTok and YouTube about people beginning their forever worlds in Minecraft, and this game for me is so personal and holds so many memories. I remember when I was younger, I grew up playing this game with one of my cousins, and my grandpa said we could pick out one game and this was what we got, and I just so enjoy every aspect of this game, and I decided I would start my own world forever too. There was also a video that inspired me to do this, and I'll make sure to put it in the description box below. They were so wonderful explaining the hows and whys a forever world could be so fun and so enjoyable, and one of the main parts was you load up this world and look at a different build or a different part in your world and remember exactly where you were at in that moment when you were playing, what you were eating, what you were feeling. And I just think it's a super interesting concept that your forever world can almost be like a time capsule. Anyways, back to the game. We are in our first night. I am bedless, toolless, foodless, and I am under attack. So I got my bearings, got to higher ground, and killed these zombies as quickly as I can, realizing that lasting throughout the night was not going to be easy, nor a good idea just to stand out in the open. So once I finally got rid of all of those zombies, which was quite a task because all I have is a wooden sword, I made my way across this little lake here and found myself on top of a tree, waiting throughout the night, eating my sweet berries to keep my hearts up, and just stayed here until the sun began to rise and the moon began to fall, being attacked by a skeleton on my way out, and I decided in my best interest I should probably get some of my raw meat smelting. So I set up a makeshift, really bad little crafting and smelting area and got some steak cooking to hopefully help me keep my saturation up. Once that was finished, I decided to look around. There was a huge cave, which I would love to jump in and explore, but I am nowhere near ready. So I made my way over to the forest line. I saw some bees that were just so cute, and then I accidentally slapped one in the face, and the thing about bees is they love to bite back. I saw this as an opportunity to explore and find where I want to set up my home base. Out of running from bees, I crafted a boat and I hopped in the ocean and made my way off of the shore into the open world to see what we could find. I traveled for quite some time but came across some land which at start looked really ugly. I don't really want to live where there's stone all over, and stony shores is not really my favorite thing, but I gave it some time. I saw some sheep which I took the opportunity to kill. Unfortunately, I needed the wolf to make a bed so I could sleep through the night. I got some cows for some food, and as I was wandering in, I saw that there was a ruined portal, and I actually loved this area so much. So I decided this would be where I dock and I create my little home base. I decided to finally get some iron smelting, and I went and checked this chest at the ruined portal, not seeing anything super amazing, but there was some armor which would be actually so helpful for my journey. So I went ahead and equipped that and finally made my first iron upgrade, which of course was an axe so I could cut down some trees just to get some more resources to help me out on my journeys. The next tool I made was a hoe so I could plant these seeds I got and grow myself some wheat so I could actually start making a base to get some animals. I stumbled across this little open cave, which at the start didn't look like it had anything, but there was some coal, and right now that's so helpful. I even saw some iron right on the ceiling. While it was only one piece, that's helpful for me. My pickaxe broke, which I took as a sign to just come and explore this later. But because of that, I was finally able to upgrade my pickaxe to an iron, which is going to be so helpful as far as the quality of my tools and upgrading all around. I decided to dig into the side of this mountain a little bit and make a little temporary home, which we actually end up staying in for quite a while. It's super small, it's super simple, but can easily be expanded on later. I decided making a bed so I can sleep through the night is probably next on the to-do list. I just grabbed the nearest flower and was able to make a cute little yellow bed, which I placed down in my tiny home. Amazing. And I was able to sleep tonight. The next day, however, I was on Operation Get Seeds because it's really important that we start getting some animals so I can have a viable source of food. So I made my way up to the top of this little hill we live under and collected some seeds. I got some fencing and gates made so I can start making some little pens up here for all my animals. I decided this would be a nice place for them. It's close, but far enough away we won't be able to hear them all the time. I started with getting myself some chickens because that's the easiest to get because all they need is some seeds, and I took them up to their brand new home. Once they were in, I went ahead and bred them with some seeds, and our chicken population is now beginning. I got started on another pen for some cows because that would be the next animal on our agenda. On my way back down, I went ahead and chopped down some trees just to help me get some more resources because in the early game, my resources are still quite scarce. I finally decided to go back to this little open cave cove area just to see if there was anything in there worth anything. There was some coal and a lot of copper, which I left behind and will come back and get later on. This ended up just being a dead end, so I left. I did, however, decide to go over to that ruined portal, grab the chest and all the contents inside, and take them back to my little hole in the wall of a house and start getting some storage in place. My goal is to collect enough things to make this actually useful. I then decided it was time to do some mining. This early on, I like to find a surface cave, and luckily right in my area there was this huge hole in the ground, which will end up being our main mining area at this point in our world. I made my way down. It looked like nothing at first, but as I kept going, it revealed this humongous cave, which had so many other off caves and so many ores and resources and minerals just all over the place. And this was going to be the best thing for us at this point in the game. I had some early battles with some monsters, but nothing that was too tricky for us. We were able to make it through with our little iron sword. As you can see, the spread of this cave is quite large, and we have resources at our fingertips, but also monsters creeping around every corner. So this will be fun to explore throughout our time here. Even off in the distance, I spotted ourselves a little mine shaft, which we'll be able to explore later on. And I just got started on gathering all of the minerals around. As I went around placing torches, there was just caves branching off in the walls and the floors and the ceilings, and I was excited just to keep going in deeper. I found a little cave here off in the wall, and I decided this would be our first one we branch off into. It was quite skinny at first, and I had some combat, and then I realized while mining, I found this little cobblestone, and you know what that means? Yes, we found ourselves a zombie spawner, which this will be great to turn into something more useful later. But I want you to keep track of how many we find throughout this video, because I think this seed is going to pose itself to be quite lucky for us, because just a hint, this will be one of many. And while the loot wasn't super helpful, I went ahead and grabbed it because it could be useful later on. You never know what we're gonna need, and I had space for it at the time. So I just kept on my way mining, getting resources, and exploring this little branch off of our main cave. Besides some coal and the often iron, I wasn't finding much until I found this waterfall, which actually took us down to a deep slate cave, which I was too freaked out to explore. So I peeked my head in and realized this was way more biting off than I could chew. So I decided to take a peek and make my way back out. I think we'll revisit that later because it looked like there was minerals for days down there and the possible diamond, seeing as it was a bit deeper than our normal stone caves. I found a huge deposit of coal which actually broke my pickaxe, so I had to smelt a little bit of iron to make a new pickaxe, and then I was on my way. While on my way out of this cave, I was just finding iron after iron after iron, and I was finding quite large veins as well. I think this is going to be really helpful because there's lots we can do with iron at this point in the game. I made my way back to the surface, and we had quite a good loot run, and I was super excited that this cave was just right under our feet. It was nighttime, so I went ahead straight to bed to get the daytime. Because I was able to get some bones, I was able to grow some wheat, which is all we needed to get our cow population growing. So I bone mealed a bit of my crops and made my way to find some cows. There was a few around my area. Luckily, I didn't kill them all when I first docked here. So I just grabbed them, and with my wheat, I led them up to their new home, which unfortunately right now is an ugly pen. I would love to have some barns and pastures for my animals at some point. I went ahead and made them make a little baby and was on my way to killing the cows that didn't get into my pen. Anyway, after collecting some sugarcane, I noticed my poor little single chest was quite overflowing after our mining expedition, and so I decided it was time to craft another one and start to get slightly organized. No, not really. I'm just kidding. We don't get organized for quite a while yet. I made some more fences and gates because we are now on a task to get some more animals. I cleared out this small little mound on the top of our hill just to make space so all of our pens could be in one similar area until we get a barn and pasture built. Right here would be the pen we make for our precious little sheepy babies. I went ahead and found some which were actually quite far away, so I took my wheat and, hoping not to lose any on this long journey, I began guiding them up our hill to their little pen. At this point, I had like 5 sheep following me, and surprisingly, we really didn't lose many on this journey. We got them into the pen right in the nick of time because it was getting dark, the sun was setting. I went ahead and bred them and killed the 2 that we left behind. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's the circle of life, okay? It's the circle of life. And it's a game, okay? I'm sorry. After what felt like a super productive day, I went to sleep and woke up and cooked up some food, which we got from our animal journey, and cooked up a little bit of iron, making 34 total in our little chest, which seemed great. My next step was to clear and make our mountain a little bit flatter and full of dirt. This will just be helpful when we're building some things later on. Now, I noticed through my land there's these rivers and these ponds and these lakes, and I decided how fun would it be if we just connected everything. So what I did was make room and get rid of all of the stone and gravel and replace it with dirt, and then became the really fun part of actually connecting this big lake with my little pond, and there's a little river going through the trees which I connected the pond to, and then I connected the river to the big ocean that I have a little cove of in my home area. I think it'll just be super cool to see like all of the bodies of water connected, and when you're looking at a bird's eye view, it's just all one big stream, and I think that's super fun. And we can build buildings and gardens and put flower fields like all along the bodies of water, and I think that'll look so great, and I think it just adds a more whimsical feel to my area, which of course I love. Here's that bird's eye view I was talking about. I absolutely adore how this looks. So I decided to start kind of clearing out a bit of this ruined nether portal. We're going to keep the portal here for now, but I just wanted to start getting rid of some of the netherrack that just looked ugly. And I moved my sugarcane farm, and that concludes today. This morning I just had a calm time doing some digging through my chests and smelting some ores and some meat before I got to work doing more clearing of the nether portal, because I just want this to look like it's coming out of the ground but not just a plot of netherrack. That's not my favorite thing to see in the world. So I went and cleared a lot, and this also connected the large ocean to our small little pond, and I loved it. This big tree here is a tree I never want to get rid of, so I decided to do a cute stone wall fence to chain lanterns coming off of 2 of the branches just to add some light, because it is quite dark here once the sun goes down. But this just adds some nice ambient vibe to my area, and I love the big overgrown tree. And it looks wonderful. So next I finally decided it's time to tackle my little actual hole in the wall and expand it a bit to get some more chest space and just ability to start growing my little in the mountain home, which at this point we may keep forever. It may not always be my home per se, but I think we may keep it. It's quite nostalgic now. So I have some double chests, some barrels, and a little lantern to light it up. I love this area. It is so cozy. I decided it was time to venture over our mountain and see what else this world had to offer us. On the way, I found caves and animals and a little bit of surface coal that I couldn't pass by, of course. I picked up some resources that just could be helpful, and I went swimming with some sea turtles, which was a magical event. Finding land, I got some pumpkins, which is amazing. I didn't have them before, and I found a dog that just killed a ton of sheep, but I sadly didn't have any bones, so we would have to come back for this dog another day. But don't worry, I will not forget. I need a little dog. Going for another short swim, we actually stumbled upon a village, and so it's great news that we have a village. We know where we can come for trading and just see what they have. I definitely did raid a little bit of their chests. I got some books and some hay, and I really didn't feel bad because I quite honestly probably need it more than these villagers. I found some cows that I did actually kill because, as always, I'm always on the hunt for some food and I feel like I never have enough. So I did unfortunately take those out, but again, I probably need it more than the villagers. I continued scavenging the village, and I had a blacksmith which gave me some iron boots and some more bread, which I'm racking up the bread, which is great. And I went to their crops and I actually got carrots, potatoes, and beetroots, which is all helpful because then that completes all of my crops I need to have a complete farm, minus melons, which hopefully we get someday. And I also snagged the books, which are actually so few in the new village type. We barely get like any books compared to what we used to. Or maybe that's wrong. I'm not sure. Anyways, I made my way back home. It's a small journey, not too long, but it's definitely a little bit of a walk. I will say though, it's quite peaceful and requires you just to enjoy the ambiance of this game, which is beautiful. Anyways, once we made it home, I went ahead and placed a bunch of flowers I collected on my journey. I think at some point they'll go in a more permanent flower garden, but for now I just put them here under the lantern tree just because I thought they looked cute, and then I can see all of my flowers on display every time I walk out of my little cave home. Because we have carrots, pigs are now in our future, so I went ahead and built another little pen for some pigs, and I took them all the way to our little animal area, and we now have one setting of every type of animal, minus of course like horses, donkeys, mules, which I'd love to have like a huge area to breed all the types of horses. I went ahead and cleared out some more animal population, enjoyed this beautiful view outside of my home, and went on a journey to go get a dog. With 5 bones to my name, I'm quite determined to get myself a little puppy. Finally, I told you I would come back. And once I made it here, I chased this guy around and he didn't take my bones. So that means I left. I went home and knew that I needed to get some more bones because this guy was going to be feisty, and I guess 5 just was not enough for him. So I made my travel all the way back home and went straight into that cave because I'm determined to get bones to get my dog. While mining a huge deposit of coal, I decided to make myself a little staircase for an easy entrance and exit into my cave, which you'll see later, it comes in quite handy. I heard some zombies and some other monsters, so I mined my way into what looked like another huge cave, but it is connected to my own big cave, which is super helpful. There's a skeleton waiting to greet me, which little does he know, this is exactly what I needed, so thank you. I went and ventured out into this cave. It was dark and scary and quite overwhelming, so I just tried to get some torches down to give me a better view of what's even happening. And very quickly, I had a horde of zombies, baby zombies, and a skeleton coming after me. So I booked it back into my cave, and thankfully I was smart enough to build that staircase, but I was spam clicking cobble because I was terrified I was gonna die. So I excavated all of these zombies and I made my life a lot safer. I broke away at all this insane cobble, and I thought it was kind of a slap in the face that the zombie dropped a carrot when I was searching for a carrot, and I luckily found one at that village, but there was a zombie just waiting underground to give me one, and I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, I made my way back into this cave, having some small little battles, but I was able to find a good amount of ores, some coal, some iron, and just a couple basic resources, but not very many skeletons yet, which is of course what we came for, so I could give a dog a bone. I ended up battling my first creeper, and I thought I was making good progress, but he ended up exploding. I turned the corner and boom, another zombie spawner. I hope you're still keeping count because there is still more time in this video and we are not quite done with our zombie spawner adventures yet. I grabbed the loot, which wasn't a ton, but at this early on in the game, anything is useful. And I continued my way mining, finding some more coal and some lapis. I broke my pickaxe, so we made, probably our millionth underground crafting table, and smelted some more iron so I could get a fresh pickaxe made to continue my mining. Remember, I told you not to stop counting because here we are, zombie spawner number 3. This is our third and final for this episode particularly, but wow, we found 3 pretty much in all of the same cave because these caves are all very connected. I grabbed the loot, which wasn't a ton, but they did have bones, which was the best part because I'm now getting a great amount of bones, which is exactly what I needed to get my dog. So this was a win in my book. As I kept exploring, this cave just kept going deeper and deeper, and I decided to travel my way into that mine shaft we found at the start of this video. There wasn't really anything too much. There was definitely a lot. I was feeling not confident enough to explore, but I got my bearings, I raided a couple chests, and I called it good and made my way back out. That part of the cave, when it went deeper, I didn't really explore that. I decided we'll go back to that when I'm feeling a bit more well prepared because, to be honest, I'm terrified of this game. I made my way back home, and I know theoretically darkness brings danger, but my goodness, this is just such a beautiful place we live in. I took those crops I got and I went ahead and planted them in my tiny little garden, which at some day we will expand, just not today, and I went to bed. As the sun came up, I immediately grabbed my bones and went straight to where I knew I could find a dog, because now that I have 14, there's absolutely no way he could say no, and there it is, he could not resist. The first thing I wanted to do was grab a little flower and make a cute little collar for him, and I gave him a blue collar. And we'll give him a name in a bit. I'm super excited. I finally have a dog. I would love to get all the dog types and just have all the different kinds of dogs. I sat him right outside my house so I can have a little guard dog, and I did a bunch of chest organizing, minerals, blocks, ores, etc. I went and checked that the sun was still high in the sky, and it was, so I decided to go back to a place that terrified me and only gave me bad thoughts and memories. Yes, the spruce forest. I made my way all the way back to where we came from, where that bee attacked us. The nighttime was there, and I quickly realized that this is so far that by the time I got here, the sun was already setting, and I was scared. I didn't want to relive my journey. There was a skeleton which I easily got out of my way, and I made my journey back home in the middle of the night, but at least I had my saplings and wood. The early mornings here are just so beautiful. I absolutely love my area. I decided right here where it kind of already looks like a staircase, I'm going to make a little staircase which is going to be a little ugly, but we will improve it, and this will just take us up to our animal pen. I'm just using some oak wood stairs, and again, we can always add to it later. The rain was falling and I needed to take my baby boy inside, so I just brought my dog inside so he could stay dry and out of the rain, and he went and sat right by my bed. There were these little pillagers that have been coming and hanging around in my home, so I decided to try and take them out, which actually was a victory. My sword did break and I had a moment of panic, but luckily I always come prepared and I had one perfectly waiting for me in my inventory, and I was back to taking these pillagers out. I got that ugly banner which I just threw in a chest and will probably never see it again. And I decided it was time to make an anvil and name our dog. We did get a name tag in one of our mini zombie spawners, and I went ahead and named my dog Tombo after my real life dog Tombo, who is a boxer, and I love him. So now we have Tombo here in my world with me forever. To further my home organization plan, I went ahead and grabbed anything I could use for animal breeding, animal things, and as well as all of my potatoes and crops and all of that, and I put them in a barrel, and then I decided I should take eggs, leather, shears, wool, and put it up on my animals so I know where I want to find these certain things until I get a set in stone chest room. Now I thought I could finally go back over to this little cove and make sure I have fully cleared it out. At this point, I'm not sure what we will use this for, but there's just a couple copper deposits which I mined out, and that was honestly it. There wasn't much in there, and so I just cleared it out, and with the urge to go mining one more time today, I took myself and made my way into our cave. I decided this would be a really quick trip, so I just made my way down into one of the many openings of this huge deep slate cave underneath our feet. I jumped in this waterfall and pretty much blindly made my way down, not sure how easy it would be for me to get back or revive myself if things go terribly south. I put a million torches, so hopefully I wouldn't lose track of where this is since the entrance is in the ceiling. Lucky enough, I found myself a couple diamonds, which would be an amazing thing to have to start getting an upgrade on my tools. It wasn't a lot, but this was exactly what I needed to make this trip 100% worth it. Mining in deep slate is a very slow process, but I persevered and found another diamond, making our full count to be 4 diamonds, which is a great start. Do you remember when I told you we had found our 3rd and final zombie spawner for the video? Well, I may have been lying because here we are with our 4th zombie spawner of the video, and I am in awe of how many spawners there are in such a close radius right under our home. As I continued exploring, I found some more zombies waiting for me, but protecting some diamonds, which of course I could not pass up, so fighting for my life because this iron shovel apparently does more damage than any tool in the game. I got rid of these zombies and I went ahead and got some more diamonds to add to my 4, which is amazing. I decided to go even deeper down this waterfall, and this cave is so scary. My zombie battles yet continued on. I just decided to look around and place some torches, hopefully protecting me, and just seeing if there was anything worth my while down here besides some more iron and coal. I found 2 more diamonds, making our total 8, and I thought this would be just as good of a time as any to craft a diamond pickaxe and go ahead and get some obsidian. I found a nice little lava pool that would be perfect for mining if I placed down some water, and I just got to work getting a pretty good amount that I felt that I just had enough obsidian that I would not have to come back down here for a while. Once I finished getting all that obsidian, I thought it would be a pretty good time to make our way out, so I found my millions of torches and went and started my exit of this cave. We will definitely be back later because I know there was a ton of resources I didn't collect and just a ton more to explore too. I made my way out of the cave and it was daytime, and when I tell you it felt like an adjustment for my eyes, it really was, because we went from pitch black to a beautiful, bright, sunny day in my world. Inside, I got some ore smelting, and it was a very good idea for me to see my dog, who I felt like I have not seen in years. And I just went ahead and organized everything I had collected on this little mining adventure, which actually wasn't too much I didn't already have, and it just kind of added to my plethora of items, hinting to me that I need to get a chest room sooner than later. I then decided, even though we aren't able to fully set up a level 30 enchanting station, we would go ahead and make an enchanting table, which is so exciting because that is one step closer to getting tools that we can start enchanting, which just sounds like... I did, however, use what I had to make as many bookcases as I could, and it was only 3, but this is such a great start. I thought that this cove that I'm always wondering what to do with would be a great place to have a beautiful enchanting area. Now, of course, right now this is going to be far from beautiful, not even close to beautiful, but I can store my bookcases and enchanting table here for now, and once we have the resources to do something nice, we can upgrade the area and make it look a lot better. But this is where I'm gonna end it today. My Forever World journey starts here, and I am so excited to bring you and my dog along with me. Thank you so much for watching. Hello everyone. Before we jump into another Forever World video, I just wanted to come on here and say a huge thank you for 100 subscribers. I know that number is not super huge, but that's so special seeing as I only have 2 videos on this channel, and it shouldn't go without just saying thank you. So thank you so much. I'm excited for the opportunity of creating and having a platform to create, and just the future of where things will go. Anyways, thank you again. Now let's get into the video. Today I started my day with doing a little bit of farming that I had to do on my tiny little garden by the river. I decided I wanted to do some paths up by my animals just to give it a more finished look while I'm waiting to get my barns and pastures built. So I went over to my stony shores to collect some gravel so I could do a gravel and dirt path kind of look up there. This also allowed me even to open up the river a little bit to make my boating journeys a little bit easier. I made my way up to the gardens, and I realized this staircase at some point has to change. I cannot deal with it. But either way, I decided to get started on this path, and again, this is going to be temporary. These pens are temporary. At some point, this will be a beautiful farm area for all my little animals. I'm really quite enjoying the nighttime ambience of my world. It's beautiful. I decided we're going to expand my little cave area because whether I continue living in here forever or not, I know at some point I want this to be larger for storage and just more space. And I went ahead and moved my bed to that corner. My goal for today is to get a starter house built, or maybe a forever house, I don't know. So I am cutting down some trees and just gathering some resources that I am so lacking. I wonder if at some point I need to do like a long play and collect resources. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out what area I want to build my house in, and I thought this little flat stone opening would be super cute. It ended up being too small, but either way I got it all cleared out and set up for a build, so at some point we will probably put something here. And I love all the little off rivers in my area, it's so cute. I put some stairs leading up here, so again at some point this can totally be utilized for something because now the space is cleared and opened, and I really love the way it looks once all the stairs are in. It's adorable. I absolutely love how this looks, and I sat here for a long time trying to figure out how I could make it work, and it just wasn't gonna fit. So I moved over and thought, this area could work a little better. So I decided to start clearing out this land instead for my house. But again, I think we'll use that area to the right for something at some point. It's too cute to not use. I worked through part of the night trying to get this area set for my home. My dog was growling, so I needed to get rid of this skeleton who wanted to end me, and I went to sleep so I could continue safely the next day. I quickly realized I have a lack of resources once again. I collected what I thought I would be able to use, and then very quickly realized I don't have everything I want to use, so I wouldn't put everything back in my chests and decided it was time to hit the mines. So I made my way on down to my favorite place in the world, which is my caves. I decided to navigate my way to one of my deep slate caves because I actually wanted deep slate to be one of the blocks I use in my builds for this world. Specifically for my house, my roof, I really love the look of the dark roof type, so I wanted to use deep slate for that. So I made my way down into the mines and I collected a couple ores I found on the way, but I just found this little dead end of the mine and I just decided I'm going to get tons of deep slate and also the white block. Is that andesite? I can't remember. I always get andesite, diorite. I get this so confused. But as you can see in the top corner, there's some diamonds there, and I go a very long time without noticing that those are even there. But my goal down here was just to get stacks and stacks of deep slate and the white rock, because those are what I wanted to use for my house. And even right there, I didn't notice the diamonds, which is so funny. I finally see the diamonds as I'm going for this coal, and I freak out because I don't have a ton of diamonds, and I know that they're a super useful resource, and I need more. But I'm also not in a rush because in this world, as I'm trying to do a slower progression just to prevent burnout, I'm okay only getting a couple at a time. Once I was finished getting some resources for my house, I decided I'll poke around this cave a little bit. It's definitely huge and I didn't even scratch the surface of it. And I get absolutely cornered by a family of zombies who want me, and I got a sneak attack on my back of another. I turned the corner and this cave is absolutely massive and I can't even scratch the surface of it today because we're not going on a mining adventure today. I want to get my house built. But I went around and just collected a couple resources that I saw on my way out, and then I completed my caving expedition for the day and headed back up to the top. I know in the overworld of Minecraft, caves are probably the scariest part, or they can lead to the most death, but honestly for me they're so calming and therapeutic. I love the sounds and the blocks and everything about them. I just adore caving in this game. Once I popped out of the cave, it was nighttime, so I quickly made my way to my bed, and I was shocked on how many creepers were just taunting me over by my sugarcane, trying to blend in. But today's the day we are going to start house construction. So I go ahead and smelt some of the raw minerals I got and just empty out my backpack a bit before grabbing all the resources I think I will need to build my house, but we go back and forth quite a bit. I thought it was quite funny that I somehow managed to forget to place 2 stairs here, and so I just placed those down. Anyways, this is the site of our home, so we're just gonna go ahead and get started. I was promptly stopped being bamboozled by one of those creepers, probably from last night, and he just made a quick little boom, which is quite unfortunate. But I repaired that and I was on our way. So I decided to go for a little bit more of a medieval build style. This has been something I'm loving. I just love the history and the story of the medieval buildings and just that time in general. So for the logs, I used oak and then a spruce chipped wood, and I feel like those blend perfectly together. And my roof was spruce stairs and then the deep slate that we went mining for. This house has 2 different angles, which adds a bit of detail that I love. It's quite small, but I figured this would be very perfect for what I need. Anyways, while building the roof, I ran out of resources, spruce specifically, so we went ahead, hopped in our boat, and made our way over to that spruce forest around where we started our world in the last episode. Back to the topic of my house. I don't know if that's the house I'm going to be living in forever, but for now, I just love the small houses. I love to go extravagant and big, but I find in the early game, it's super hard to just make them feel lived in and full, having fully decorated spaces and making it cozy. So I feel like the smaller is the better, especially for the early game. And in the future, we could go bigger and more detailed once we have the things and supplies like amethyst or different blocks you get, and once you progress in the game. Sorry, I stuttered there. But that's just my mindset on why my house is a bit smaller, and maybe it's a starter or maybe it's forever. We'll have to see. Anyways, I got a bit of wood and I made my journey back to the homeland. I absolutely loved this journey back in. I couldn't have the heart to take it out because look at the way our house looks just sitting there. I mean, those stairs need to be fixed, but the house and just everything matches so perfectly. I think this area is going to look absolutely amazing as time goes on and as we see progression in the world. I just did a little bit of organizing and cleanup, and I made my way back up to the house to get back to our building progress since I finally had most of the resources I needed to finish up. Obviously, this is just the shell of the build. We haven't gone in and added detail or the inside or anything like that. But this is where we are going to put a chimney. I just needed to go collect some clay before we went ahead to do that. I actually don't finish fully detailing it in today's video. I did a little bit, but I also want to just take my time. I'm not in any rush to see a finished product for this build quite yet. We'll get there within the next couple episodes, and once we get some more resources from exploring and caving and all of those things, because I definitely want this build to look fully alive and lived in, but not in this episode. Also, while I'm putting in the windows, let's quickly talk mods. Obviously, this is a pretty vanilla playthrough. I have shaders, and I even have in the top left corner the biome names come up as you go throughout the land. I just had a couple tweaks I wanted to add. So I have an ambient sound mod. I again have the mod in the top left corner that tells you the title of the biome you're in, and just a couple things to make my world feel more alive. I have some pretty particles that get put in the caves and in the world, and just a couple things like that to make the world feel more immersive, but nothing that changes gameplay or adds any blocks or anything like that. It's all client-side things that are easy to add and remove, and I simply just wanted to add for a more cozy feel. Quickly talking about what I'm doing right now, there's this little window in the back that I actually didn't want to get rid of because then the wall would look really blank. So I thought this would look like a cute little overgrown flower cave. We'll add vines and glowberries once we get those things, but once the grass grows in, we'll add some leaves and flowers, and it's just a cute little detail that I wanted to have at my house. These campfires single-handedly showed me I don't know how to count correctly. We're using these for a couple overhangs at my house. We're doing a main one in the front, and later on we'll add a couple small ones to both of the sides. But I counted for 3 and realized this is actually going to be 5 long, not 3. So we go back and forth getting these all done for a while. But I think it's worth it. I love the campfire overhang look. I think it's super cozy and cute. So interesting how campfires can be such an interesting task to do, constantly being burned, and it's such a fun time. As you can see, I was 1 campfire short, and at this point I'm pulling my hair out, really reconsidering if I even learned how to count in kindergarten. Or do you learn how to count in preschool? This is my point exactly. Anyways, I used some fences and some gates to make a more stable looking hold up, and we'll drag those down in a bit. I'm going to have a little doorway for my cave, and that's what it will connect to. The center block of the window under the overhang lines up perfectly with the center block into my cave, and that was not even purposeful. That was pure luck. Thank goodness, because it would have drove me crazy if it was any other way. Believe it or not, I have once again ran out of wood. So I go out in this beautiful rainy day and just collect a little bit of wood around my area. I think I haven't fully decided if I want to do custom trees or just the big trees that can come from saplings, like the one by our little river canal that I refuse to cut down. But either way, I say that because I am allowing my deforestation because I want to have custom forests and trees around, whether they are sapling or built by hand. And I also went ahead and grabbed some leaves for the little flower cave that I was talking about earlier. Enjoy this quick ASMR break of the beautiful sounds of Minecraft. Moving on, here is that little overhang connector piece I was talking about, which is actually just a doorway for my cave. Doing the oak log and then the stripped spruce that I used on my house, I think they just match perfectly. I love how it looks. And this kind of has like a mineshaft entrance vibe to it in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just wanted it to look more natural than a building entrance per se, just because this is my cave and I feel like this is more realistic and just makes sense in my head. I don't know. It's now finally time to add in our chimney. I decided to do a double chimney on different heights. I think I really like how this looks, and seeing as my house is lopsided, I thought my chimney should be lopsided too. It's kind of giving the house from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And you know what? I'm fully okay with that, because from back here I'm starting to love the way it looks. And again, this is just a shell. We don't even have details and we're not even finished yet. I'm now taking my leaves and a couple flowers to put in my little flower cave area. I think once we have some vines and glowberries, this is gonna look absolutely adorable, because I just love how this looks, and it brings a little bit of nature into my home, if you know what I mean. I love it, and I think it's super cute and super fun, and from the inside it looks great. I also think adding in some grass later will look good as well. Anyways, we're on another tree journey. I can't seem to keep a good amount of resources in my inventory ever. I decided to add a little doorway into my cave, one to help protect me from monsters that undoubtedly find me, and two, just to match with the house above. I think it looks great. This is the symmetry I love. I love a good mismatched look, but I love sometimes when things just line up perfectly. I don't know when, but at some point in time, I realized that the roof I have no walls in, so I decided to use some oak wood to mix it up a bit. So I used some oak wood and some windows just to add in a second floor. Up here is where we will have my little bedroom bed area. So I just did this on both sides to actually complete my house, so there's no openings. And then I went ahead and added in that floor. And then I added a staircase right here in the corner. Which I had the hardest time figuring out how I want to put the stairs around the window. If I just wanted to leave a big open square block look to actually have the window fully shown, or if I wanted to add a slab, or if I wanted to add a stair. You'll see my struggle. To give you the answer, I decided a stair for the sake of everything lining up, and I thought it was quite nice how the stair lined up perfectly with the post. I went around and added some oak trapdoors to add some like window shutters to my house. So cute. I love doing this for detail. And I had some stone brick. I'm not sure where I got it, but I used that to make like a kitchen flooring. Of course, my kitchen is currently unfurnished, but at some point there will be a kitchen here. And then I went ahead and added oak flooring to the rest of my house. I made some small tweaks to the fences on the overhang. I thought it looked a little too symmetrical, so I added a stone wall just to add a bit more to it. I then went on another clay journey because I wanted to get some pots. I have quite a few windows and spaces for flower pots, and so I thought it would be fun to put some flower pots around since I live right next to a flower forest, and it just adds detail. Who doesn't love flower pots? And I've been spending so much time on my house. I had a full harvest from my teeny tiny little garden, so I went ahead and harvested everything from there as well. I went ahead and gathered that clay I had been cooking and made some flower pots for my house. So I decided I would do a flower pot and lantern mix on the windows just to break it up a bit rather than just have a ton of flower pots everywhere. So when there's a lantern close by, I will do a flower pot. Otherwise, I will just mix and match it to, one, add a good source of light, but two, just kind of keep things not looking as symmetrical. I always go back and forth. Do I love the super over-cluttered, messy Minecraft look, or does my ability or my inability to be okay with messy things get in the way and everything needs to line up and be perfect? I really go back and forth. I realized I have been somewhat neglecting my poor animals, so I went ahead and went to breed them. I have a plethora of chickens, but that's kind of the only animal I have a lot of. Other than that, it's just the animals I actually brought up here on the first episode. I haven't really bred them since. So I went ahead and did my pigs, bred my sheep, and went over to the cows and had them make a new little family as well. I'm trying to not kill them as best as I can. One, because their population is so small, and two, I'm loving my bread. I decided I wanted to make a grindstone. I thought this would be useful and cute decoration. I actually didn't end up loving it as much as I thought I would. I really do feel like this will be easily incorporated once I have more builds, kind of sticking to the more medieval build style, but for now it's just there in my kitchen. I feel like I'm constantly going back and forth between my home and my cave, so I had an idea to kind of connect the two with a little ladder. I feel like it's kind of like a basement, but I didn't really want to do an official staircase, so I mined my way down and we made it in. I actually like how it's right off of the wall. And I put a ladder going up, and instead of doing a trap door, I kind of wanted to do a tall ladder. I just like that look a bit more. It feels more homey. Anyways, we are back on the campfire grind. Again, I told you earlier I wanted to have a bit more campfires around. You'll see where we put these in a minute. It just adds a bit more detail to my currently plain looking home. I'm trying to remind myself this is just the start, and as we go, things will get more full and detailed looking. But just these small little campfires on the sides of my house added a lot. Of course, things couldn't fully go my way, and I misplaced a campfire, which meant I had to go craft another. After this episode, campfires and I are official enemies. I went ahead and added a little chain to link to lantern moment on both sides of my house. Just add some light on this side where there's really no lanterns. And I'm quite happy with how it's looking so far. Obviously there's a bit more I want to do, but as of now I feel like we're at a pretty good stopping point. So I added some spruce doors to my house and to my cave. And I'm excited to be able to add some more detail and decoration as we go, but the house is pretty complete. Anyways, that about wraps it up for this episode. In the next one, I'm going to work on a crop farm. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you again for all the support. Here is my house, and here is my dog. Bye-bye. Hi, and welcome back to my Minecraft Forever world. Today, I guess I woke up with the itch to go exploring, so I made my way off into a direction we have never explored before. Now, slight foreshadowing, can you see one thing very important I'm missing? Maybe not. For some reason on my journey, I went on an animal killing spree. I can't tell you what past Jocelyn was thinking, but here we are. I watched as the sun set, and I should have taken this as my sign just to go home, but I saw a village off in the distance, and I could not resist. So I jumped in the water and I swam my happy self over there. This was new territory, new village, and so I persisted forward. Maybe at this moment you realize what exactly I was talking about earlier. This baby zombie absolutely destroyed me, and yes, that's because I forgot my armor. How? I don't know. It's in my inventory. I just didn't think to put it on. So I was hoping this iron golem would save my butt and destroy everything in my way instead of just sleeping, right? That made sense. But it's actually good for future reasons that I didn't sleep in this village because my life would be taken very soon. After fully raiding every chest in this village and seeing my armor sitting in my inventory and not thinking to put it on, in the darkness, I made my way through the village and off into a forest that was new territory yet to be adventured. What exactly was I even looking for? At this point, I don't even know. And I still somehow am forgetting the fact that I'm so vulnerable and easy to kill, but I just made my way on. I took on every single mob that came in my way, absorbing every delicate hit they laid on my poor armorless body before I just decided I needed to run. Although things started to really look up. In the distance formed a huge mountain peak showing us snow that we've yet to even adventure. I jumped on into the water and swam my way over, not thinking of the dangers that actually hide in the water. I made my way through the forest, and there at last was the snow that was really not worth the journey, but nevertheless, we now have snow. I collected a good amount so I wouldn't have to come back here anytime soon, because quite frankly, I'm traumatized. Down from the mountain came a baby zombie I booked it from. Nowhere was safe, and still not realizing I could just put on my armor and probably help myself 1,000,000%, I ran, and I ran as fast as I could. I ate some bread and jumped on the treetops, trying to find a way down this mountain so I can finally get back home and sleep through this night. And there it was, the water I came in from, and I jumped and made my way home finally. Well, that dramatic story is now over. Grab your coffee, grab your snacks, and let's get into the episode. Today, I really wanted to focus on my crop farm because, as you know, I have a measly tiny little crop farm by the river. So I thought that we would take up this space up here by where the animals will soon have a beautiful home and clear out a couple layers of the dirt to make a nice flat area to build a huge crop farm and a beautiful little silo type of tower thing. I don't know, you'll see. I do a little bit today, but later on I definitely want to go back in and terraform this little hill a bit more. I do cover that cave on the right, but more on the back side. It kind of just cuts off, and I would love to terraform it more and be able to put something back there or just have it look better all in all. As the sun started to set, we went ahead and wrapped that on up, so I made my way back down to my little cave house. And I actually decided today would be the day we moved my bed from my cave up to my little bedroom, which, don't worry, we will still soon decorate and furnish. I think maybe the next episode we will decorate my house and the build we do later in this episode. I went ahead and grabbed my crops and everything I would need to build my little crop farms, and I also decided to bring my dog Tombo with me today. I feel like he hides in this cave all the time and he deserves to see the world too. So I went up to the top of the hill and put a couple things down, and I decided to get straight to work. So for this build specifically, I wanted to alternate between a couple different blocks, some deep slate and some andesite to match the colors of my house. And I decided to do little circles for all of the different kind of crops. Honestly, maybe I still don't know how I feel about it, but I wanted to do something I don't normally do. I usually do a very nicely organized garden or beautiful rolling hills full of crops. But I decided doing something different actually may be good because this is our forever world and I'm gonna need to push myself a little bit. I did run out of the blocks I was using, so we decided to make a quick little trip to the mines, which, as you know, I will never complain about. I love caving in this game and my mine is magical. I made my way down to the same deep slate cave I usually go to, and I just mined so much deep slate because that's really what I needed, and that was the main resource used for most of my builds this far. So I cleared out this entire room and then made my way back up to the surface to get back to building. I'm thinking whenever we decide to go through and decorate and fill space with cute little things, we also need to redo those stairs coming to this animal area and then also build a nice little staircase going up to the garden. So back to work, I did a little terraforming at this biggest circle. This one is going to be for wheat because it's quite large. And along this whole area, I'd love to redo this mountain, but I just did a quick little fix. And then I placed a bunch of random blocks because this is where our little silo garden tower will be later on, but I just wanted to map it out for myself. I then went in and finished the last 2 walls for the circles. I want to add leaves and fences and walls and lanterns at some point and just make it more alive feeling, but for now it does what it needs to do and we'll get to planting the crops shortly. But I think that will add to the list of what we need to do when we decide to go and detail all of our builds and areas. Anyways, I made my way down to the house to sleep through the night and I got a little bombarded by some zombies, so I went ahead and got rid of those guys and then went to my house and slept through the night. I feel like our little home is such a dream place to wake up in. Anyways, I also got rid of our puny little river garden because we're going to be placing our crops down today. So we'll no longer need this. So I went ahead and got rid of it and put down some dirt. I also want to get rid of that sand on the left at some point too. Just a lot of random things I want to get done at some point. Once that was done, it was time to finally go up and get our garden planted. I went ahead and got everything to make a little infinite water source. I'm thinking a cute little well at some sort to always have an infinite water source up here would be wise, but I didn't think to do that today. So I went in and put a couple little watering holes in each of these circles, and then we'll go back through and hoe down all of the land. This took quite some time, and at the time I only had a wooden hoe, but don't worry, we upgrade to iron soon. So this first farm we're looking at is actually for potatoes, and I only have 4 circles. I didn't make one for sugarcane, pumpkins, or melons. We will do all of those other plantables in a different area. I want like a melon patch, a pumpkin patch, but for the crops that grow root up, I thought these little circles would be cute. And then I'm like, crop circles, it's kind of like aliens. I don't know, but they're cute and it's fun and it's different. Once it was finally all hoed down, I went through and planted the few little potatoes I had. Then it was on to our next little crop circle, and this one is going to be for carrots. So I placed down the water and I hoed down all of the land just to get it all set up to plant our few carrots we actually have. I've now at this point gone through like 3 hose, but that's okay. We go ahead and make 2 more iron hose just to make sure that we're not losing any more anytime soon. Once I was finally done with that, I went ahead and planted like the 3 carrots I had, and then I decided it would be a good idea to get some light inside of the gardens. So I went ahead and did just an andesite fence and lantern, and I put 3 to 4 around each of the crop circles. And you know what, I just realized it's not andesite, it's diorite, so too late now. But anytime I say andesite, no, I actually meant diorite, obviously. In my mind, these are still new blocks in the game, which is funny because they've been in the game forever, but I just don't really know what they're called because in my mind they're still the new weird colored blocks that no one uses. But I've actually been branching out and trying to get myself to use them more, and now they're not even new and there's a lot more new blocks. Anyways, we are on to our next little farm, and this one is for beetroot. It's the smallest one. I use beetroot almost never, and so I really didn't want to make it too huge. I had a huge creeper scare and I was terrified for my life. I fled the scene immediately and I went to bed crossing my fingers that when I woke up in the morning he wouldn't be there, and luckily it wasn't. But literally I was terrified that everything I just did, all the land I just hoed, would be gone, and my life flashed before my eyes. I am quite enjoying how these look, although it definitely takes me out of my comfort zone. Once I knew this area was creeper free, I planted down the few beetroot seeds I had, and I was on to the last one, which was for wheat. This was the biggest one, but I just decided to start knocking it out. So I placed down the water and then the little lantern posts. And again, I want to do some lanterns like on the walls as well, like some leaves, some lanterns, some vines, some fences, some walls, stairs, slabs, just to add more texture and dimension. Even though it's already all layered up, I just think it will look more finished later on at some point. But that's not what we're going to do today. We'll get to it once we tackle the house and finish up the build that I started in this episode. Actually, technically I finished the build, but just going and adding detail and decoration to everything I've worked on, we will hopefully do it soon. Once I finally hoed this land, we just got a nice little look at it, and then I started placing down my wheat seeds, which I actually had quite a few of. So I was able to fill out a good amount of this land. Not fully, obviously. You need quite a few seeds to fully fill everything out. This horse kept getting in my way over and over again. If I had a saddle, we would have like 1,000,000 horses by now, but I've yet to find one, which is crazy. In the first episode we found like 8 dungeons. But once we find a saddle, we'll have a beautiful horse field of multiple horses, all the colors. Anyways, so I got to placing these seeds. We have one more stack and we've barely filled out half, so that just gives you an idea of how big this circle actually is, which is great because we use wheat for so many things, and I'm just thinking about when you have to break and replant them, it's just gonna take forever. But it made me realize that these little ponds of water, the holes, we will need to fill with something so then we can walk over it. Anyway, these pillagers have been eyeing me for so long, so I finally decided to try my hand and take them out. Still having slight PTSD for being killed by a drown, but I figured it out and we did it. Hero of the village, am I right? So one resource gathering long play later, and we are ready to build our little, I still don't know what it's called. It's kind of like a silo, but it's more like a tower, but it's for my garden. So a garden tower silo. I feel prepared. We have the resources to do it. So I made my way up to where we have our crop farms, and we get straight to work where my pile of rocks has been sitting for quite some time. It feels like forever for me, but it's been a couple minutes for you. we go ahead and clear this out, and then we get on with building our brand new garden crop silo tower. That's what we're gonna call it. So just like my other builds, I'm gonna stick with the deep slate, diorite, oak logs, and the spruce logs for my build palette. But before we get started, I wanted to grab some dirt and actually terraform a bit of the side of the mountain, which I was telling you about earlier, covering up that little cave. So I got to work. I'm not very good at terraforming. I think we'll go over and fix a lot of this later, but this was more just creating space so I could actually get the build done and get started. About 4 podcasts and 2 live streams later, I completed the side of our mountain. And those caves are gone, baby. So I went in with some bone meal. I picked up a couple bones from a dead skeleton, okay. And I just put the bone meal around some random areas. We'll make it prettier later, but I thought this was a good step in the right direction. So I finally decided exactly what blocks I was going to use, which we're going to use a mix of a couple for the walls, and we got to work. So I am going to start with a switch of diorite and cobblestone, and I'll use a couple different textures as we go, but this is just to make it look, I don't know, cool, edgy? I'm not sure. Okay, I don't know. And then we went in with the wood and spruce that I used on my house, and we just got to work. We worked day, night, rain or shine, but let me tell you one thing, this is a trust the process build, okay? I think it stretched me from my comfort zone yet again, but right now in this moment, you're like, girl, what the heck is this? Just trust me, it looks better. Maybe it's not your cup of tea, but I can promise it looks better than its current state right now. I did decide to do some stained glass for this build. I thought that would look fun. So we did pink stained glass for the bottom, and then the top we're going to use blue stained glass, which you will see. I had a cute little house hut thing on the side for the front door, and then this little chimney fireplace on the side with a lopsided roof, of course. I feel like that's going to be my thing for this save. Now this is where the name tower comes in, because this is, yes, a tower, and this is where those blue windows will go. I had a cute little top I was gonna match with the diorite and stone, but I thought the deep slate kind of tied it all in. I went in, added detail to those windows, and then we will go back in and add the blue stained glass as well. And that wraps up the build. As always, I am resource empty, so I went ahead and cut down a couple trees just to refill my pockets. And then I went ahead and went in to a very unfinished inside, but look at the stained glass, I love it. And then we had a quick breaking and replanting for our crop circles. I love these, I think they're so fun, they look great. Still not sure, but we love it. I know this episode was a bit shorter, but this was literally like 6 hours of footage, so I do hope you guys enjoyed. I'm excited for the next one. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Bye-bye. Hi, and welcome back to my forever world. A quick thank you guys so much for 200, almost 300 subscribers. Wow, thank you. Let's get into the episode. Today is going to be the long-awaited decorating episode, and we're getting right to work with my basement. I wanted to keep my furnaces and crafting in the same area, so we're just going to dress it up a little bit later on, and I thought to extend this wall a bit with the diorite. I think it's diorite. Anyway, I quickly realized I have none, so would it really be me if we didn't hit the mines? No. So I did just that. I went down to my favorite place in the whole entire world, and I really just stuck to the bottom of my staircase. I didn't go into the caves, I just went to my little entrance, which, guys, we need to make this look better at some point, more accessible. But I just mined out a lot of this area. We even come back later and pretty much empty it dry. Once I left, it was nighttime, so I made my way on out of the cave and then I head straight to my house to go to bed for the night. Now, at some point I do put a bed down in my basement because sometimes it's just easier because I'm always down here. But for now, we use my upstairs bed in my house and we take a nice little nap. We are feeling good this morning. I put my polished diorite up and I just saw my cute little puppy Tombo. Anyways, I finished this little area up. I just did my mix of wood and chipped spruce. I think this always just looks good. You can't go wrong with the basics of the game. My axe broke, so I had to make a new one. And then we went on a tree chopping spree because once again, it's me. After that, I went back to my little basement. Actually, that sounds weird. My chest room, I don't know the right word. I used some deep slate for like this little wall and ceiling area, and then I finished it off with a lantern. I tried a fence, and actually looking back, I like it. I think it's fine, but I got rid of it. And then I actually went with a cobblestone wall, which I like. Now I finished up like this little overhang where my ladder is, and then I went through and broke open and extended this wall just by a single block, nothing crazy. And I looked at this for a while and decided, what do I want to do? And then I decided deep slate would look cool, like a little accent wall. We'll do these a bit throughout my basement and just have a couple different walls. And then I went through and just decorated this wall. It has a blast furnace and an anvil. And I actually really love how this looks. I thought I should give my dog a dog bed, so I gave him this lame birch slab. Don't worry, later he'll be sleeping on my bed. You'll see, it's like so cute. But I just put this birch slab down and just pushed him on over to it. And I know this is so lame. Don't tell me. But that's when I decided, okay, we need like a little bedroom down here for me and also so he can chill. I continued the deep slate walls and then another accent wall and ceiling of oak wood. I then went in with some cute little details, a stairs and a trapdoor for like a little walkway. I think it looked super cute. And then I also put a lantern in there just to light it up a bit because it's kind of like a dark corner. All that to only change my mind in 2 seconds, and we did lantern on top of barrel instead, and I love it. Since my bed upstairs is yellow and I'm a pink girly, we put a pink bed down here, and then I got rid of Tombo's little one birch bed. Then, as I've said with a lot of my builds, I want to push myself out of my comfort zone. So I did a mix of this random block, I don't know the name of, for my floor, and I actually quite like it. It looks fun. And I also added this fun little funky floor design in the front of my basement as well, just where I had enough of the granite to do it. But I ran out quickly, so we're gonna hop back in the mines, of course, yet again. It's all looking good, and so I went to bed for my first night in my new room. Before I went off into the mines, I am just a girl, so I added a cute little flower pot to my room and worked on moving my dog into my bedroom, which is an adventure. But now he'll start laying on my bed, so it's all worth it in the end. Before I go get more diorite, I need to open up my floor a little bit. So I just break as bit of the floor as I can, and then we'll fill it with diorite once I go collect it, which I shortly realized I need it, and now I realize it's granite, not diorite. Help me, I don't know. What I'm learning in this series is these stupid blocks. It is now time to go on our granite adventure, so I make my way to my cave area, and just right down through our entrance There was this good deposit of granite, but it was right next to a water cave, so it was just a hassle to mine. So I got some, and then I decided to go right down here because, as you can see, there is a bunch here as well. I just mined out a lot. I knew I would need it for my floor, and once I felt good about what I had, I just went ahead and hopped back up to the surface. Once I had returned home, I finished off my floor and then continued breaking the rest of this first room and filled it in as I went. Again, I'm quite happy with this flooring. It's different, it's fun, I love it. And look at my cute boy, he's now resting on the beds. Oh my goodness. Now I did decide to expand this room by 1 block just so I could add a log post on the side of my bedroom to add some symmetry to the other side. That's important. Maybe this is normal to you, but it's stretching for me. I'm back with another accent wall and I'm actually falling in love with how this looks. Now, one of the last walls to tackle is this one right by my makeshift chest area, and I went for oak this time because the only other spot that has that is my bedroom. And I have to be honest, I'm genuinely shocked how much I like this. Okay, I just have to be real. I played a whole session of building and forgot to record. So what you're seeing is the replay because I did record the replay, but I didn't record any first person. So for a little bit of my chest room building, it's gonna be all in the replay mod. So thankfully I had that because I completely forgot. But anyways, I dug out this huge area because I knew I wanted a large chest room because girl, if we're gonna be here forever, we are going to get stacked. So that's what I worked on. Next, I just evened out the wall so I could add some wood pillars on the bottom of my stairs and the opposite side. I went in and I put wood on the sides where all of the chests are going to be, and you'll see I put this wood wall in a bit too close, so I break it and realize I need to put it 1 block further back, so I go ahead and do that on either side. So this is going to end up being a wall full of double chests. And then I went through and started working on the floor. I mined out a patch of coal, and then I put in the same pattern as upstairs. Really, truly, the thing that this series has done so far is just push me out of my comfort zone. Next, I went in and started putting in chests, quickly realizing how much wood I'm gonna need for these chests. So it's gonna be a work in progress for a while. I went to cut some wood, mostly for the chests, and still, it's never enough. I don't finish this for quite a while. This is about as far as we get before I realize I just need to go out and plant more trees. I'll soon decide to stick to only birch, and that'll be like my crafting wood. I was getting close to running out on food, so unfortunately that meant we had to get rid of some cows. It's only like 2 or 3, don't worry, I bred them, I'm sorry. Then came the struggle of getting the perfect painting for my bedroom. I ended up with the flower one, after a lot of time. So we're doing a slight little time jump for the sake of being able to get back into first person. As you can see, I just did some walls, nothing too crazy. I didn't skip much. I'm just going in and doing a deep slate roof for these stairs going down into the official chest room. Then I used my last 2 diamonds to repair my pickaxe. So at some point we need to go on a mining adventure yet again. Then what I decided to do was go to all of the walls I had already done and just add some texture to them. I did it up at my tower in the farming area, so I thought I should just continue that design everywhere. So I did it for the stairs, for the wall in the chest room, and I'm even going to do it for a couple of the walls up in the main part of my basement. The last wall I did was my entrance wall, and then I put some lanterns inside of the wall on the staircase because there's no center block. I didn't want it to drive me crazy. Next order of business was clearing out this roof so I could get our deep slate roof in. Try to say that 5 times fast. So I just used as much as I had, but I very quickly ran out. So I decided to make a little mine down just off of my chest room, just to go get some deep slate. I just decided a staircase, and hopefully we find something good, and then I'll have access to it right in my basement. I put a cute little door, and then I go put a staircase just so it's super easy to access. Now what I was not expecting was running into my very own geode. So I took a lot of the outside shell blocks because I love them. I can't remember what the white one's called, but that's my favorite. And I mined into it. I don't have a silk touch pickaxe, so I just got some of the shards. We will definitely come back to get the clusters once I have a silk touch pickaxe. But what I did was kind of open it up around the blocks that have the cracks and grow the crystals so we can have maximum growth from each of those blocks. So instead of just growing on the face, they can grow on all, like, more sides. Hopefully that makes sense. I just opened it up. So after that amazing surprise, I made my way out and we needed to go to the mines because I don't have deep slate still. There's those birch trees I was talking about, so those I'm going to use just for crafting, so like for chests and things that don't have, like, it's not a fence, just things that I can craft for sticks or whatever. Anyways, enough blabbering. I made my way down, of course, to our good old trusty room that we just continuously mine out on. I decided I'll poke around this cave a little bit today. I don't do it too much, but I thought I'm down here and I might as well see what there is to see. I got a couple nice veins of copper and iron. I quickly realized that's all I was gonna find, so I made my way a slight little bit deeper and I got myself some redstone, and I also ran into a little creeper. But there it was. We finally got some more diamonds. This is exactly what I was needing. So I grabbed those. I ventured a little bit deeper and saw, uh-oh, cobwebs. That's right, we found a mine shaft and I said, nope, that's my time to go home. So that's exactly what I did, and I just made my way on out. It was a beautiful golden hour when I came on out, and so I thought, no, let's take a minute and just watch that beautiful sunset over our beautiful world. Well, anyways, enough of that. I now have deep slate so I can finish the ceiling in our basement, and you guys, it's honestly looking so good. I personally love it. I hope you do too. I think this is so fun. I am in love with this space. I can't wait to kind of get to my actual house because, plot twist, we didn't really do that today. I decided to decorate this area over here because it was a little bit dark, so I just made like a little table hanging with a chain. I had to get a freaking painting yet again. And then I decided to put some flower pots around because I'm just a girl. I was finally able to finish the first wall of chests, which was a job well done, but still have yet to complete the second side quite yet. I just reimagined the space a little bit, and it's great. Well, that completes our first task of today's episode, which was tackling the basement. So I went to my farm, put a couple compost bins around, and did a nice harvest of all of my crops. When I harvest a full crop field, it's insane. It doesn't look like much. It's hundreds and hundreds. This wheat field especially, I had to go back and forth because it just filled my inventory to the brim. But I love it. It's beautiful. So today we are beautifying our crop circles, which is still such a funny name. I don't know what better to call them. So I'm going in with a couple different types of walls, some lanterns, and stairs. That's our first order of business. I'm just kind of completing all of these walls on the circles. Nothing is a single block high. Hopefully nothing can jump in and spook me to death. So I go in with walls and stairs and just mix it up and make it look fun, and then I complete it with a bunch of leaves. I'm gonna add some hay bales around. This is a farm after all, but I think the leaves is really what brings it together, and at some point when we do some terraforming, I think it's gonna look amazing. I finished off with a couple different wheat piles, and then I went to the tower and put in a floor and then a second floor. I added a cute little hanging lantern, and okay, listen, I know this might be crazy, but if we're at the farm, we're sleeping under the stars because that ceiling is still open. I decided to add one more little hay bale. I think at some point I add a campfire here, but I don't think I do that yet. Maybe you don't see that. I don't know. At some point there's a cute little campfire here too, and it's just a fun little area. Also, side note, I don't think this tower is complete either. Still the inside and outside, there's more I wanted to, so we'll get to that at some point too, just like my house. Next, I went around with some flower pots, of course. I mixed it up, I put them all over, it's beautiful, and I love them. Now listen, I do feel like my animals have been getting neglected. I've just been head down, get busy with building, so I just went in and I bred all of them but the chickens. I have 1 million chickens. And then I decided I'm gonna add a staircase here. I'm always jumping off this cliff to have quick access into my spaces, whether it's my house or going downstairs. So I thought adding a little staircase here would actually look super cute, and I do love it. I think it's nice. It's something different. So that's completed now as well. I know this looks insane, but we're putting a cute little wooden path here from my front door of the basement to the staircase. And then I add a cute little fence as well. And this is just like a little deck. I think it's adorable. Like, it's not necessary, but I like unnecessary things that look good. Okay, so we now begin construction on a little lamp post. Now listen, this guy's a little funky. I don't even know if I like it fully. Yeah, there's some revision process. It's kind of interesting. It's quirky, okay? It's quirky. Okay, but let's be real, it gives light. So I just expanded my deck a little bit to make room for my quirky lamp post. And I just get a view. I'm like, do I even really like this? I don't know, okay? But then I went to bed. So yeah, then this morning I'm like, okay, what am I doing? But you know what? We just leave it for now. It is what it is, and it'll grow on us. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I just go ahead and make like a little campsite. You know, I felt that was cute. I had an extra little campfire from my, my lamp post wannabe. So I thought we could do a cute little campfire moment up here. Then it just kind of causes you to have to walk around. Can't cut corners to try to get to my tower. I think this is cutie. I end up really liking this, and from afar it looks really nice. Okay, listen, so I came back down. I'm just trying everything at this point. I don't know, okay? Lampposts usually aren't that hard to make, but I wanted to be different and fun. So I was just trying to, how the heck do I do this? That was what was going through my mind. So we did change a couple things up. I like it a bit more now. You know, it's different, and I'm okay with that. This whole world is quite different. So I'm happy with how it ended up. It's kind of interesting, but you know what? That's okay. Do things different sometimes. So as always, I'm getting some wood collected. I feel like I quite literally never have enough. So I got some wood from my trees I've been growing. And then I went inside and crafted up a set of shears, not knowing I literally have like 5. And I went and made some naked trees. I wanted to get some leaves for our next project of decorating. Don't worry, I cut down the trees. I didn't just leave them hanging. And I decided to set off to that other village we found during the long play. So we now know where 3 villages are close to our house, which is amazing. So I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you why I came here, because in my long play, we went through this entire village and got what it had. And so I spent this entire evening running around until it got dark and there was monsters chasing me all the way home. There was some pumpkins though, so I did take those, which is great. We actually ended up using those in this episode to decorate. But yeah, then I quite literally booked it home in the middle of the night. So, you know, that's so smart. So now comes our next project we are attacking, which is the enchanting cave. Now I have a vision. You can't see it, but I just start by doing a bit of terraforming on the outside of this area. I want to have this whole front part covered, having like a little mountain. Y'all, I so badly wanted a tree to grow and it pissed me off. So because I don't know how to terraform, this is quite literally what my process looked like. It took forever and a half to do, but you'll see, I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. Okay, this was like my last try, 18 freaking bone meal. I'm like, please, girl, please. And I tried everything and whatever. It's fine. And you know, later on, this would have made it really cluttered. So future me is happy, but in the moment, I was livid. I decided to work on the entrance of my little cave a little bit more to kind of make it look like a doorway. Obviously not on purpose, of course. It's an all-natural cave. But I just wanted it to be a bit smaller, like a direct, obvious doorway that will be overgrown and glowberries galore if we ever find glowberries. Don't talk to me about it. So the next thing to do was put on a glass roof. Now, funny thing is, I don't have very much sand. So after doing as much as I could, I went to collect more sand and immediately started smelting it in my furnace so I could finish my roof. So while that sand is smelting, I wanted to get rid of all of this obsidian because in that little back hallway of my enchanting cave is where I'm gonna have the nether portal. So this whole little nether island that has been there since the first episode, it's gonna get taken down today. So cry about it if you want, but thank God this eyesore is out of the way. It really does open up the space a lot more. You'll see once it's done. I absolutely love it. So then I went to collect the small amount of glass that was done, and we continued on the roof building process. Which once again, because of my lack of sand, we didn't get too much done. So once again, I just did another little task while waiting for my glass to smelt. I just did a bit more terraforming. And then I went in and almost finished, our ceiling. Well, here we are back again with another side quest, and it's getting rid of this little outward island that the nether portal was on. I think this looks so much better because it just opens up the entire lake, pond, river thing a lot more. So I get rid of it completely, then I go back through and just replace everything with dirt, do some slight terraforming, and it looks so good. It looks amazing. I love it. And then finally, we have the glass to complete the task, ladies and gentlemen. We put in those final pieces, and just like that, that roof is done! Okay, so now the fun part, we get to do the inside of my cave. I start by just making it more cavey with some cobblestone, then I go in with some other dark, stony blocks and just add more detail. I will say now, ahead of time, I want glowberries, I want the spore blossom things, I want vines, I want a lot more at some point, but we did the best with what we had. I love my floor pattern in here. It's like a lot happening, but I think once we get more foliage in here, it's gonna look great. I don't have a full enchanting table, but I left cobblestone spots for where the books will go. And I think we'll do a bit more decorating another time. Next thing I wanted to do was go around and add some lanterns. I don't really want any torches in here. At some point it'll be lanterns and glowberries galore. But because I don't have any yet, I just went around and put lanterns everywhere. I absolutely love it. I switched between some fences and walls. I went ahead and put my crafting table in the floor, and this is an overview. So the final part of this project specifically was crafting some stairs and slabs. Then I took those slabs and I put together a little bridge taking us to our cave. Now I know this looks ugly, don't worry, we're adding some pillars on the sides and then doing a fence and wall kind of funky look and making a cute little overhang. And I put some lanterns and chain for light, and then I went through and added some leaves. I wanted these to look like they were coming up from out of the water and kind of growing over it like an algae type of thing. Obviously it's huge, there's no smaller leaves or like bushes, but I quite like how this looked. And there's our bridge. Then I went back to the cave and actually decided to add some amethyst only around the enchanting table, kind of making it look like the magic from the table is actually spreading over through the rest of the cave. So I just added it to a couple spots on the floor and then a couple spots on the walls. Oh guys, this cave is starting to look great. And there is a better look of our bridge. Alright, with our cave and bridge officially done, it is now time to do the last thing of the day, which is this staircase. I didn't really know where to begin, so I simply just started going at it. I used a mix of oak and spruce stairs as well as did a little bit of terraforming on my way. Some of these days, one of these episodes is going to be a whole terraforming episode since we got the decorating one out of the way. I moved some staircases in different positions and places just so it's not one straight up line, because I had a feeling that that was not the cutest look. Once those stairs were finished, I went in and started making some paths. I used a mix of cobblestone, the two wood types, the path block, as well as some gravel, and I just did that in between all of the staircases and all of the little pathways going all the way up. The last thing I wanted to do was plant some big trees. Even though it didn't work in my cave, I was determined to make it happen out here, so I planted those and I will be back once they are all grown. So things are looking good. The last thing I want to do is just decorate it a bit. I started with some hay bales that I just put in some random areas to fill out the space a little bit more. Also, if you see, I put some leaves around my house as well. I put the last one down by the water just to kind of, one, form the area, adding direction, but two, I just liked it. Next was putting in some lanterns everywhere. So I put two on this one big tree at the base of the stairs, and then I just put a bunch going up. I try to make all of these different, using walls at some points, using spruce fence at some point, using oak fence at some points, and then also using chain at some points too. Just trying to give variation and a different look for each tree. I love this lantern that just sits on top of the branch. If we ever find a coral reef, I'm going to put some coral up there to look like a little bird's nest. I then added some fences and walls. We are going up a hill, of course, so I thought that this was actually quite fitting to have some random fences and walls around. I changed between each randomly just to add some more dimension to this build, and I put them in random spots, really not helping protect anyone from falling off at all, but it just looks good. and some of them got a little lantern on top if they needed more light, and then I used the last bits to frame my front porch, and it is uneven from the one outside of my door, but I quite like it. And last but not least, we are going in and putting some bone meal in some random places just all over to add some more grass and flower to the area. This is looking quite well, and if you remember those pumpkins I got from the village earlier, this is where they come into play. I did a bit of barrel and pumpkin action around, and I think it looks great. Now, the last thing I did was destroy 50% of the stairs. I wanted to give them more dimension, a bit of a curve, and some different blocks throughout it, and I love this way more. I know this episode was a bit longer, but I hope you loved it. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Hey, welcome back to the cafe. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome back to my forever world. And a quick thank you for all the support on this series and my channel. Alright, now let's get on with the video. Make sure you grab your snacks and coffee and enjoy your time. We start our day by getting very distracted by some puppy dogs on the shore, so instead of adventuring off, I made a quick turnaround back to my house to grab some bones. Once I acquired all my bones, I quickly made my way back to these dogs, and I tamed them easily. I grabbed the closest flower I could find and gave one a yellow collar, but kept the other one red because I don't have a red collared dog yet. I took them back home, they quickly teleported inside, and I got them sat with my dog Tombo. If you guys have any name suggestions for the yellow or red collared dog, let me know. After that quick detour, I hop back in my boat and sail the sea because today I'm looking for an azalea tree. I haven't been able to find any near my home, so I thought it's a good idea to head over to the birch forest and spruce forest around where we started to find one there. As I was zooming in, I saw the shape of an azalea and I made my way over there quite quickly. Once I docked, I mined my way up the little hill and I cut down this tree and waited for all the saplings to despawn, hoping to get a couple flower and a couple non-flower, and we made out a pretty good haul. I then began my staircase down, hoping to find the cave that fingers crossed lies below. But I mined and I mined and I mined. I literally mined so long. Until finally, my pickaxe broke. So I quickly made my way back out of my little staircase. I went all the way back home across the ocean, and I docked back at my forever world. I ran inside and made a pickaxe, quickly deciding I should probably make myself two so we don't end up in this situation yet again. And I didn't have any torches with me, which I thought was quite odd because I almost always have torches with me, so I made a couple of those as well, bringing wood to make more if needed. And I journeyed back again to the azalea tree. Here we are. I decided my approach this time would be slightly different, and I dug straight down. I was too lazy and I knew it had to be here, and finally there was the delicious moss we were waiting for, and I dug straight into this cave. Now I very quickly realized we are on the ceiling. Not to worry, I decided to place some water and jump on down. Now there was monsters left, right, center, top, bottom, so I decided my first plan of action would be to just avoid them and place torches everywhere, because no point to kill them if they were just gonna spawn back in 2 seconds later. My goal is to not die this time around. But when I tell you there was so many mobs in this cave, I literally think like this was the hardest hard Minecraft I have ever played. Usually hard game difficulty, not too hard, but this was wild. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut past like the 30 minutes of me killing mobs and get to the fun stuff, but just imagine many near-death experiences. So now that that's all dealt with and the mobs are gone, the first task and order to do was to get moss, the moss carpet, azalea saplings, and the little drip leaves. Once I did that, it was time for glowberries and spores. So I went and just gathered a bunch of glowberries from around the cave. And whilst mining some iron, I bumped into another closed off area of the cave. And of course, I jumped straight in and gathered the materials that it provided for me. I mined out some more ores. I then found another area of the cave which I fearlessly jumped on down to. I was kindly greeted and surprised by some iron and diamonds waiting right there for me. It was a good chunk of iron, but sadly only one diamond. Once I left that area, I made my way back up and found an axolotl, which of course I took, which means we're gonna need to make a little cozy home and sanctuary for an axolotl now. Then I pillared back up and made my way out of the cave. Once I was at the surface, I boated my way on home. Look at our beautiful home off in the distance. It's really starting to come together. Once docked, I went ahead and put a couple things away in my new chest room. And then I went up and threw some junk in the chest I still have upstairs, unsure where yet to put it. And then I smelted my iron that I found. Not much, but we love anything we can get. And I decided today would be the day I stopped neglecting my animals. Finally. So I went and bred some chickens because I had a bunch of seeds on me from the lush cave. And then instead of just grabbing the crops from the barrels, I thought my animals deserved farm fresh today. So I decided to make my way up to the tower and do a nice harvest of everything. Like always, we started with potatoes, we went over to the carrots, and then next the beetroots, only to finish off with my favorite, the wheat field. This took the entire day, so I slept away once I had finished, and in the morning I went and gave my animals the best of the best, straight from the crop fields to their pens. Once I had finished feeding my animals, I walked away thinking they probably deserve a barn pretty soon because we've been talking about it since we docked at our forever world. Well, I'll add it to my mental to-do list. I then shuffled my way through our makeshift spruce tree farm, headed over my beautiful new bridge, and made my way into my enchanting cave. With all of the new things I got from the lush cave, I knew that this baby deserved a glow up. And glow up is exactly what I did. I started in the main cave and added some spore blossoms and some glowberries. I tried to do a pretty even covering around this entire area. Then I went through and added some moss carpet just to finish it and tie it all in together, and I think with the addition of green, it's amazing. The next step was to go into the hallway of the cave and just dress this area up as well. We'll be putting our nether portal in here, so we want it to look just as good. I went through with cobblestone and then amethyst like I did with the enchanting table to give it the more magical look. I went through and dressed up all the walls and then went ahead and did all the floors. There's quite a long hallway here, and so it was quite fun to do the whole flooring, all the different patterns. So with that done, the last thing to do in this area was put in the leaves. I went all out. I put greenery everywhere, and I even went through and did some moss carpets as well. Enjoy this quick little walkthrough of everything we have worked on while I run to the nether portal. Yes, I restocked on what I needed and we are going on in. So what we didn't do is get a good spawn, so I just made my way and mined the bone blocks for the bone meal because that's always useful. And I very quickly found myself in a hand-to-hand combat with a ghast. Now, I did win this hand-to-hand combat, but that was enough for me to say sayonara and leave the nether immediately. Once I had left, I decided to do a few cosmetic and aesthetic things, and I went up to my farming tower and decided it was time to leaf it up. So that is exactly what I did. I just started putting leaves all over the place. I used to be like a viney leaf person, but now I'm really loving the more sporadic look. I feel like this makes it fit in with all the other builds in my area, and it just adds more to the eye. I absolutely love it. Once I had made my way down, I decided to stick to the leafy green theme and put a leaf hedge / fence leading to our cave. 1, this acts as a protective barrier, and 2, it just looks good. So I decided with making a leaf overhang to start right at the cave opening, and then I went through and I put some fences down. I did a mix of spruce and a mix of oak, and I just put them all over the place. Then I just sporadically put leaves throughout the way. I then did this on the other side, doing it quite randomly just to make it look overgrown. And random, of course. Now it was time to break a bunch of dirt around our path blocks to get an actual path up in this place. Once that was done, I went in with the blocks that I've been using for my path throughout my entire world. When the path was finished, I went and put a fence hedge right by the lake, and then I put lanterns around to light it up, and there it is. Once that was done, I had the itch to do a little bit of organizing because I just have random chests everywhere. So I got a lush cave chest and I put the new things we found, and then I decided a flower chest would be good because we live in the flower forest. I have so many. So I put all of the flowers in a chest together along with the dye. Then I went ahead and took some birch saplings and went outside to plant them because, as you know, birch is my crafting wood, so we need to keep a good stock. Now the next project of the day is my boat dock. As you know, I am a frequent boat user and I thought I want a cuter place to put my boat, so I decided to build a spruce dock, which just turns out being adorable, but not before I second guessed myself. Because of all of the I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone with building, it ended up looking good. Definitely not the normal way I would build a dock. I have a very specific way I like to build docks and they always look good. So this was different, but it ends up looking great. So I use a mix of oak and spruce as always for the logs, and then spruce for everything else like the trapdoors, slabs, and stairs and buttons. Then I use a couple wall types to put some little overhangs and fences in. Now of course the real question is, would it be me if I didn't put leaves everywhere? No, that's the correct answer. So I went in and I put some leaves all over, and then I did a slight bit of decorating to finish off this build. To complete it, I put a little path in, of course, the normal look we always do. I then tasked myself with something quite large. As you know, to go mining, we go all the way up these stairs and go to the huge hole in the ground. So I thought I should mark down these coordinates here and then build a tunnel all the way from my house. I don't fully finish it in this episode, but I get it fully mined out and get the floor, ceiling, and walls finished, but there's definitely some decorations I want to do. As you can see, I did mine into the basement, and this is in a really terrible spot, I have to say. I did not plan this well at all. So there's a lot of navigating we have to do with my basement, but then also the stairs going to the animal area. But just a short dig away, we made it, so now it is time to expand it, and I probably spent 2 hours mining out this entire area because I only had an iron pickaxe. Once it broke, I took it as a sign to go for an upgrade. So I went home and I made a diamond pickaxe, and I am gonna enchant it. I'm gonna do it. I have the levels, so I might as well go over to my beautiful enchanting cave we never even use and go ahead and enchant this pickaxe. I quickly got hit by a train because I turned around and see I never went back and finished the bookshelves, so I left. I killed some cows. I made some books. Then I made some bookshelves. And just like that, I got a fortune and efficiency pick, and I was back to work mining out this 3x6 tall tunnel. It seemed like ages before we even hit the first corner, but after this, it was smooth sailing until we got to the little stair part over our basement. Because we had to go higher for our basement, that meant we ran into my stairs and path leading to my farming area. So we had to readjust. And then finally I completed mining out this entire area, and I went in with a deep slate flooring, which I wouldn't have done, but I had to do because my basement ceiling is deep slate and we poked through to that. I have the stairs at the exit or entrance depending how you look at it. And then I completed the oak wall. I finished off today with doing some campfires for an overhang, and that's about all we're gonna do for this tunnel today, but I promise we'll finish it soon. Now the final and biggest project of today, oh boy. I start by getting the resources I plan to be using, and we make our way up to the animals. Yes, the animals. In order to love my animals, I first have to kill them down to be only 2 of them and relocate them for the time being. I got my cows. After I got the cows, it was time to get the poor sheep. Again, listen, they will be happier once this is finished. It had to be done. It had to be done. The pigs didn't pose such an easy task as the other animals, and I should have stopped while I was ahead because it got dark. I accidentally fed it, it ran away, a skeleton's trying to kill me. I freaked out, but don't worry, I grabbed another carrot and I got them safely inside their temp pen. Once that was finished, it was time to clear out all of those old pens and clear this land to get it prepped for the barns and pastures. I did a bit of terraforming on the sides and the front, and I completely sliced our back mountain in half, which you can't really see now, but you will. What you're watching is actually about 2.5 hours of digging and building, because I only have iron tools, so it was quite the adventure. It was quite the adventure. I hope we enjoy the final product to make all of this worth it. In these moments, I just have to remind myself this world is hypothetically forever, and so I can put in effort to the things that I want to make look good. I also clean up that stone in the back too. Fear not. Now, I will warn you, we didn't do enough barns for the pigs and chickens. We only have the cows and sheep, but this is a great start, and I'm really excited for you guys to see the final outcome. It's beautiful. So I stocked up on resources and we got to building. Now, let me tell you, of course these weren't enough resources to build the whole thing. I went back and forth so many times, but I thought I would show you guys my process. I really won't explain this build too much, as I want to have this segment of a couple minutes to have a little bit of a more chatty time. Do you see I made it from oak wood to a red barn? I could not resist. But if you've made it this far, this 2-3 minute chat is for you specifically. Anyway, at this point in our world, we are about 100 days through, and I just want to say thank you so much, not only for the support on this series, but just my channel in general. This series has been so fun, They take quite a lot of time to make one episode. You are watching about 7 hours of footage taken over the span of days. And that's just raw footage that doesn't involve the editing or going back through the replay mod. It takes time, but I am passionate about it and I feel like it's a way to express just small aspects of my creativity. Yes, through the building and all these long projects we do every episode, but also through the time I spent editing and perfecting what I've made. As with everything, there's always ways I can learn and grow, but I really just wanted to say thank you. We are 100 days in and I feel like we've made some amazing progress, but not as much as others would. I'm super excited for you to see what I have planned for this world. We have not even began to scratch the surface of what I'm gonna do. Anyways, back to the video. We bring in our cows. Look at this barn, she turned out great. And I bring in my sheep. If you see the cow jumping over the hay bale, no you don't. Here's how I dealt with it. I thought, okay, let me just separate this as best as I can. And I thought, instead of kill the sheep, let me just do the logical thing and try to bring it back to its own pen, right? It was making a way to exit, so I thought, yes, this is my moment. I pulled out the wheat, the cow was following. I was just gonna give it a tap, and it died. RIP, RIP, cow, death by me. But I got the sheep home safely. Now here we are all the way at the end. If you made it this far, thank you. I hope this was cozy and you enjoyed it. Seriously, thank you again for all the support in general. I hope you enjoyed the first 100 days. Here's to the next 100. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.